Oh my word.
Here we try it again.
We're trying it again.
It's been this way all day though for
really?
people
for everybody.
Well, you know, I don't know. I'm doing fine, but lots of people at work and whatever have been having all kinds of craziness today.
I missed an appointment. One of my one-on-ones I was supposed to have today at 11 o'clock, and I totally missed it.
We've just gotten out of the dark moon, and there's all sorts of crazy biometric pressure happening.
Oh, is that what's happening?
I think so.
Biometric or barometric?
Whatever.
Do you mean, seriously, do you mean the weather barometric? Yeah. Oh, barometric pressure.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think there is biometric.
I think there is, too.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering what you were really referring to.
Either way.
Anyway, It's true. There is a lot of hoopla going on, and sorry, Megan, she'll never see this show because she's not trans, but that we missed each other.
Not a valid statement.
We'll catch you next time. And so it does feel kind of weird that we are a little bit disjointed, but nevertheless, the show must
and will
go on.
Hallelujah.
Oh my goodness, look at that integration. All right, so usually, good night, good evening, everybody. Devin, welcome to the show. Remy, nice to see you.
Remy?
I know,
I'm here. I'm watching. How you doing, y'all?
Tamar, put a shrimp on the barbie for us. Ew.
Some ribs.
And some ribs. So usually, you know, we do our show. We have hi, Devin. She said hi again.
Hello.
Usually, when we do our show, we have 3 segments. We have the good news segment. I know my ring. We have the good news segment. We have how to read the news segment, and then we go with the headliner. But tonight, this week, I didn't find any negative news worth talking about, to be honest with you. And the positive news is pretty much more of the same. So, I see. Y'all call it prawns. Is that what it is? Y'all call it prawns. We call it prawns too, but anyway. What?
Nothing.
Anyhow. So tonight we're going to kind of riff because we don't have any we don't really have any content except the headliner. Mm-hmm. But we do have this one thing I wanted to talk about real quick, and I told you several sessions ago that we weren't going to talk about this anymore because it was pretty much done. But something happened recently.
It's some official stuff.
It's some official stuff, and a change from the Department of Defense, which is coming out. There we are, which is coming out with yet another guidance for transgender people serving in the military. And I just want to read this one part of this of what someone who was responsible for authoring this guidance had to say about this new guidance.
Restart your phone or whatever, Devin.
God, Devin, come on, lady. Restart your phone, girl. We just had to do
maybe
it.
It's the app.
Or maybe it's the app. So this guy, he said, I had to read this twice because I read it wrong the first time. Brad Carson, who, as I said, he is one of the people who authored the upcoming policy, which will be published tomorrow or maybe on Wednesday, said this about the new policy. It would be a stretch to exclude transgender troops under the new policy on deployments.
So, totally in favor for?
Totally in favor for having transgender. And the rationale they came up with...
you bitches had your panties in a bunch.
Yes. So the reason why the Department of Defense is coming out with this new policy and saying basically don't even try to exclude transgender people because you're not gonna win. The reason why they say in this article is because transgender people already are serving in the military, and
have been.
Yes, and their hormone treatments are having zero effect on their deployability, and so I love the fact that why a sad face, Tamar?
That's a happy laughing with tears face.
Oh yeah, you're right. Laughing like to the point of tears. And so it's just awesome. It's awesome that the Department of Defense has aligned itself with where we were going about this whole thing, which was it was going to end up to everyone's benefit. So. Yes, we told you so. We told you so. What's up, Troy? Good to see you. Glad you're still here and all that other stuff.
He's in a mood.
My wife has been saying that all day. I'm in a mood. All weekend. I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood for love. All late, homie. What's up, Johnny? I guess that's not... Jonathan, how you doing?
He goes by many variations of his name.
Well, toast to
never called him. I call him Jonathan.
Let's head some to my homie.
Oh, no, you better not.
Just a little bit to my homie.
Wow.
Anyway.
Start the show, you're here. All right, well, there we go.
All right, start the show. I'm here. Okay, though. All right, so we already talked about the good news. We can talk a little generally about how to read the news. We don't have to just skip it all together. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Absolutely.
So when you look at the, first of all, not Johnny though. See, I thought so. Sorry about that, Jonathan. So when y'all looking at, of course, you probably aren't looking at the negative news unless you're one of those people who thrive on negative news. Which means you're not really thriving. Because if you're feeling upset about the negative news, that's not thriving.
Incarceration?
What? I finally got to speak to Jonathan. You two, y'all need to cut it out and pay attention. Seriously. Y'all cut it out and pay attention. Okay. Anyway.
I'm not sure what to tell you, girlfriend.
Stop having side conversations.
Try rebooting your phone, computer, system, maybe, I don't know.
Start your phone over.
I know what you mean, Troy.
For goodness sakes. Okay, so back to the lecture at hand, as Dr. Dre would say. Ooh, I just earned my black card back there,
Not
Troy.
quite. Hi, kids.
Yeah. So, as we were saying, about reading the news is what we were talking about. So, we advocate you not reading any news whatsoever because it's just not worth your time, and it certainly is not going to support you staying positive in the world. But if you have to read the news, don't read the negative news or watch the negative news. So like that that happened in Florida, I'm not even going to use the words. That that happened in Florida, there's nothing there for you. There's no need for you to be looking at that news. It's just perpetuating more of those kind of things. The more eyeballs that are put on it, the more people are going to get encouraged to do that kind of silly stuff. And so why even pay attention to that kind of thing? My wife and I, we didn't even know it happened until, one of her preschool teachers brought it up after preschool because this is so interesting. It's so...
the shooting?
Yes.
Talking about it.
The event whose name will not be named on this show.
Okay.
It's interesting because the teachers at the preschool that my wife runs they're dialed in. They will not mention any negative news during preschool hours. And so when this thing happened, the teachers just totally ignore it. Nia, what are you doing watching this show? Welcome.
Glad you're watching.
Welcome. Glad you're watching. I hope you haven't been holding your breath waiting for your show to show up because we still have it in the can and we haven't come out with it yet. Ren, what's up, bro? So Ren recently stated out loud his profound support of transgender people. And I suggested that he come I suggested that he come to the show and announce himself as a proud trans-supportive, trans-attractive, trans-amorous brother. So welcome to the show, Ren. Nice. I hope I'm saying your name right. It looks pretty simple to pronounce. W-R-E-N. That's like a bird's name. Isn't there a bird called Wren?
There is a bird called a wren.
That's right. So anyhow, what's up, brother? Nice to see you. What were we talking about? Oh, Nia loves the topic. We love the topic too. In fact,
stay focused.
We're just jumping all over the place.
You're jumping all over the place.
Sorry. I'm jumping all over the way. Okay, so
like I said, he's in a mood.
We're gonna get to the main event in a minute. I just want to say about reading the news. So you don't want to be reading the news because the news has nothing of value for you. If you notice, the stuff that's in the news hardly ever has anything to do with your day-to-day personal life. So paying attention, right? So paying attention to it's not going to do you any favors.
Watching the traffic reports.
The traffic report, or maybe the weather, but that's usually not bad. Same with the traffic. It's either going to be crowded or it's not going to be crowded.
Right. The shit that matters.
That's exactly right.
Doesn't matter on the news.
That's exactly right. But if you must look at the news, try to look at the positive news. And if you can't, if you have to look at the negative news, then try to find a way to spin the news in a way that supports your well-being, your positive outlook. Because the news is already spinning it for you. They're looking for the most negative news possible because they know that negative news attracts people who are addicted to negative news. And so
perpetuating the cycle,
yes,
adding momentum into the negative stories, into the negative energy that flows through the world.
That's exactly
thereby
right.
Creating more of those negative situations that everyone is so angry about. Just putting more into it.
Absolutely. So let's do this. This is going to be tough, ladies and gentlemen, but let's spend a little bit of time trying to come up, and we want members of the audience to participate in this. This is going to be a little challenging. So we had a big event in Florida this week. We all know what it was. We don't have to mention what it was. But let's see if we can come up with some positive interpretations of that news. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
So you go first.
Okay, the first thing I'll say is it's a good thing that only 17 people were killed. It could have been 1,700 people.
Absolutely right.
It could have been whatever 17 plus 17 is. My wife says I'm bad at math, so I'm not even going to try.
I am too, but isn't it 37?
It's
34. That's what I meant. The 7 again and 7 and the 4 and the... Anyway.
So that's one thing.
I don't care.
Exactly. So what's another piece of positive news that could be said? Well, it's a good thing that didn't happen in every state of the union at the same time. That's preposterous, but it's still positive.
True.
So what else? Troy said you failed. So what else? Or maybe he's saying I fit my...
Or we both failed.
Or maybe
either way.
It doesn't matter.
Don't care.
So what other positive thing? It's a good thing that he did not continue his spree. That it ended, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's a good thing that the police showed up quickly. It's a good thing that the police apprehended the dude so he could be brought to justice.
Boom.
Yep. It's a good thing that once again we have this issue in the public consciousness, and so the debate continues around this situation. It's a good thing it wasn't a brother who did that, because if it was a brother who did that, we would have been in all kinds of hurt. Right? Am I right, Jonathan? I meant to say Troy. I didn't mean to say Johnny. I meant to say Troy. So, anyhow. Sorry, Jonathan. I really did mean to say Troy.
Thank you, Devin. That teacher who hid those kids found out she was a brave, badass woman. It's positive that, Jonathan says, it's positive that America now understands the true face of terrorism, and they are not Muslim.
That's a great one, Jonathan. That's an excellent one.
We need more women to realize that. More weed and more women to realize that. I'm with that.
I'm going to like that one.
John Boy.
Sorry, Jonathan. I promise I'm going to stop. Oh, come on. Now, wait a second, Tamar. We're trying to be positive here. We're trying to be positive. I know she's speaking facts.
So, that's not necessarily...
That's true. Not necessarily positive. It is true. It is though positive that it's a good thing it wasn't a brother who did that.
Mm-hmm.
It is a good thing it wasn't a brother who did that. Isn't it let's see. So, like I said, this is going to be challenging. And it's even challenging for me to come up with these positive things. So what else can we say that's positive about that event? What?
That's okay, Carlton.
Who's Carlton?
You're Carlton.
Why am I Carlton?
Do you remember The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith? His cousin Carlton?
Oh, that... It's not unusual to be loved by everyone. Okay. Boom. Anyhow. Okay, so let's stop that because I can't think of any other positive aspects to that. Oh,
but that was quite a long list of very positive things.
It was
out of a story that has been spoken nothing negative.
Exactly.
Nothing but negativity about.
Exactly. We could also add that because of the event, more people are asking for these events to end. I could also say that more people are asking for greater levels of gun control. I could also ask that people are asking our senators to get off their duffel bags and do something about this. I could also argue that people are saying that the NRA needs to get their act together and start supporting gun control, which they might never do. So there are lots of things that we can say about this event that triggered positive outcomes and that are positive outcomes of the event. So there you go. So our point in going through this...
It's an interesting positivity. Sorry, I want to
throw it in.
Gingy's out there. There hasn't been a single event like this ever committed by a trans individual.
Ooh, Gingy. Gingy, welcome to the show. Have you ever been on the show before?
I don't know if he's watched us. I think he's been with us once or twice live a long time ago.
Okay.
But I know he watches later.
Okay. We're loving Gingy's comment because that was awesome. Good addition.
Devin says, it's a good thing that people are talking about the people who lowered gun laws in the state and are and their country.
Wow. Interesting spelling of country. We're going to love that one. Whoopee cushions buried.
they
sit in a fart bag. Yeah, right. Okay, so Gingy said briefly. Well, welcome again to the show. Okay, so all right, that's enough of that segment. The point is that even the worst possible story can be interpreted in a way that gives you gladness in your heart, and gladness in your heart is what you're shooting for, because when you're positive, you are most connected to that part of you that's trying to deliver to you everything that you want. And so being positive in the world is where you really want to be, because when you are positive, when you're loving your life, when you're expecting positive things to occur in your life, you will have more positive things. Just like if you buy a certain car and you are really focused and love that car, you'll begin seeing that car, other people driving that car all over the place. That was something you
bought. True.
Isn't it true?
Yes.
Yes.
I just recently bought a car that you don't see very often. It's a very...
it's a rare car.
It's kind of a rare car.
Go ahead.
Just yesterday alone, I saw 3 in the morning. Like within 3 hours, I saw 3 of them. Today, I saw 1. And again, it's a rare car, so you don't see it very often.
It's so bizarre because you were so enthusiastic about your car, and I was enthusiastic about your car, that now I'm seeing versions of your car.
Jonathan too.
Really?
Yeah.
See? That's the thing. It's like your expectations when you're in a good mood. Your expectations are delivered upon by your inner being.
Yes,
and
they are.
So yeah, being positive is like the ultimate life experience. And we cannot express or stress it enough that the more positive you are, the more positive your life goes. And that's why we're arguing for you not to be watching negative news. In fact, don't watch the news at all. It's just, there's nothing there of value for you.
Right.
Okay. We already covered the positive news that we were going to cover tonight, but just to reiterate for those of you who joined late, the Department of Defense tomorrow is coming out with their new policy on transgender people serving in the military, and their policy is 100% in our corner. In fact, they said that with the new policy, it's going to be next to impossible to discriminate against transgender people. And the reason why they came up with their new policy is because transgender people are already serving in the military, and there doesn't seem to be any... Their conditions have no effect on their ability to perform their role as deployable men and women in service. So that's just fantastic news. So this puts a cap on the story that we covered beginning almost this time last year, when Trump came out with that silly tweet. And
Has it been that long?
Almost. It's
been quite a few months. That's for damn sure.
And the transgender community, how'd you say it? Got their panties in a bunch about this thing when the tweet came out, and then for the entire part of 2017, y'all were wrangling, feeling negative that this was going to be the end of the world for the transgender community, at least as far as service people are concerned. And we were all the time saying, everything always works out, and that is exactly what has happened here. Mm-hmm. It's just wonderful to see. Okay, so let's talk about let's take some comments, and then we're going to talk about the headliner tonight.
We're more or less caught up.
Are we caught up?
Comments.
Okay.
Devin agrees with the whole car thing. She says it was like that when they upgraded to the van that they now have.
Nice.
Remember?
Yeah, they used to be living in a sedan, I think. And
now she and her sister in their gypsy van.
Sweet emotion. There's some Aerosmith for you.
I'm not sure what's going on.
I don't know either. I promise I am not high.
Maybe I'm too high.
I'm high on life. Okay, so for the main topic tonight, we lost 2 people because I was from that Aerosmith rendition I just did. We were at 9, now we're down to 7.
Probably.
Jonathan's like,
Jonathan's in my head.
Okay. I'm sure she's saying it's so nice. She's talking about her van, not my rendition of Aerosmith.
Sure.
Okay, so the headline tonight is, men, you gotta love what you're getting. And the reason why, so for the next 6 months, we're talking to the men specifically because 2/3 of our audience happen to be men. And that, you trans women, you should be encouraged by that figure, that statistic. In fact, not only is 2/3 of our audience on our Facebook show men, but it's across the board. 2/3 of men on our YouTube channel, 2/3 of our population on YouTube, 2/3 of our population are viewers and audience members on our website and on Instagram. They're all men. And so what this means is that more men are liking and following our work all the time. And so the point is that there are a lot of men out there who are either owning who they are as trans attracted, transamorous men, and that's good news for the Brotherhood, you two, and you know who I'm talking about. But also that there's more men out there who are willing to come out and support people like y'all, trans women, people like Ren, who was on the show, or maybe he jumped off real quick. But the
point, just spoke a moment ago.
Oh, he did? Great. Okay. So, and interestingly enough, a lot of those men are African, or people of color, mostly African American, actually. And so the reason, so it's for the next 6 months, we're doing a series on men, colon. So the last couple of shows where you got to be happy, you got to love yourself, you got to love what you're getting. And tonight we're talking about how you got to let go of the idea of what it means to be a man.
I love you, Devin. Oh, I'm rolling in that. 2/3, Perry?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This, you know, we behind the scenes, Remy and I have been talking about how all of the Transamorous network is eventually going to become somewhat of a dating platform. And men, you men who are watching live and after the fact, let me tell you, we have got some beautiful trans women lined up to be on the show. Oh my gosh, some of these trans women are hot. And not only are they hot, they're successful. Some of them there's one that I'm talking with to be on the show who has 3 patents behind her. She's a musician. She's very successful and very attractive, and got to be in her mid-40s or something like that.
All right.
And then 2 others. One works I think she works in marketing, and the other one's in retail. So there are women who are coming on our show who are going to be awesome. And we're going to be having men coming on the show who are equally as awesome. But the point is...
Because you got to be.
You got to be.
Match stories.
That's exactly... Well said, Remy. So the point of tonight's headline is, for the men, you've got to let go of the idea of what it means to be a man. And so part of the shame of being trans attracted and transamorous, part of being in the closet, has to do with feeling that perhaps you're gay because you're attracted to trans women. Now, put aside what trans women are. We're not talking about what trans women are. This is totally independent of trans women. This has to do with your subscription to the societal belief of what a man is.
Right.
So what is a man? A man, according to society, is someone who behaves in a certain way and believes certain things.
Projects his masculinity in a very specific way.
Thank you, Remy. Thank you.
His masculinity, perceived masculinity, and implied masculinity, and enforced masculinity.
And to take it where it needs to go, a demonstration of that masculinity in certain ways in intimate situations. And one of those intimate situations is what happens when confronted with something that you weren't expecting in an intimate encounter. And it's what happens, that knee-jerk reaction, that has caused many of the murders of trans women. So it's the definition of manhood that is put upon men, defined by society, that is resulting in knee-jerk reactions on the part of men.
Those situations, those knee-jerk reactions, are based in their fear of what someone else is going to think about them.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
The man, about the man. What his friends are going to think about him should they find out that this woman is trans.
Absolutely right. And so the definition that these men, and perhaps you men who are watching this show, the definition that you are claiming is actually a definition that others are putting on you. And in our opinion, a man does not allow other people to define that man's reality. A man chooses to define his reality for himself. And it has no relevance on what other people think that reality should be.
Right.
In our opinion, that's what a man is.
Jonathan says it's a self-imposed fear. Devin says a man is someone who can flush the toxic out of their masculinity.
Amen.
I think that is so well said.
That was so well. I gotta find that.
So well
love
said.
That comment. That is like beautifully said, Devin. You can tell that Devin is a writer.
Fear of Tamara says fear of others' opinions. Is that a man?
That's a very good question.
Many males go through that problem.
Now, let me give men who are fearful of other men's opinions a little bit of slack. It's not like you are automatically fearful of other people's opinions. You've been trained to become fearful of other people's opinions as opposed to walking your own path. And so in some ways, it's not your fault. There's no blame to pass around, but it's not your fault that you adopt other people's opinion of what it means to be a man and what it means to be yourself. You take out men the label men altogether. Just look at what it means to be yourself. In many cases, you have adopted the definition of other people to define who you are. In fact, it's normal. Let's say it's not normal. It's commonplace. Let's say it's commonplace for all humans to define themselves through the eyes of other people.
Right. And many of us have and will do that at some point and stage in our life.
And that's why for
trans women, we do it often
especially
early on in our transition, which is why we put up with the shit that we put up with.
That's right, Remy.
That's our choices.
I have often seen, especially on websites like You're Not Alone, where trans women will get up there throwing up a picture talking about hot or not, or passable or not. And what they're looking for is validation for their they're looking for support in their insecurity about how they believe they pass or not, or whether or not they believe they're hot or not. And men are the same way. So as Remy has said multiple times, even though we're addressing the men right now, the stuff that we're talking about applies to you too, trans women. And so we're advocating for people defining for themselves who they are, who they're attracted to, and who they're going to be with in a relationship. That is the only opinion that matters. Your own opinion.
Period.
Period, Remy.
Period.
Period.
Your own opinion of yourself and what it means to be a man or a woman or whatever it is you identify with. It's how you feel. And that's the whole point that we as transgenders are trying to put across. My identity and gender and who I am is not defined by you. Period.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's our first stance. But then we're going and we're looking for other people to validate that and back that up. And at some point early on, we often need that. You know what I mean? But we hope to get to a point where you don't need that anymore. And you can find that validation and strength in yourself. And the same thing goes for guys, too.
It's interesting because Remy is absolutely right. When you find the connection with
Yoda.
When you find your connection with your inner being, the way we talk about here in the Transamorous Network, you begin to let go of the importance of other people's opinions about who and what you are. And so this is another reason why we advocate for connecting with your inner being, because it is the only opinion that matters about you is your inner being. And when you line up with that, you discover the truth of what I just said. There is no other opinion more important than the opinion you have for yourself.
Absolutely.
Let's take some comments.
Let's see. Troy says, the essence of power is the ability to define someone else's existence and force them to live by that definition.
That's exactly right.
A quote from Dr. Wayne Nobles.
That's exactly right, Troy.
Devin says, not a man I want. Jonathan says, remember my quote I have said in the Brotherhood, Perry. If I cared about another man's opinion, I will beat it into him.
I love you, Jonathan.
Tamar says, agreed. There's no blame unless you continue to perpetuate those thoughts after you have self-identified.
Absolutely.
Preach, Remy. You know me, baby, always. Gingy says, grateful that my parents taught me that being a man meant having integrity, honesty, and respect.
Amen.
That's great. Troy says, amazing I am. Teach others I shall. Good old Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
Ren says, I never cared for others' opinions about me. In my life, on my terms. I live my life on my terms. If I'm with a trans woman, she's going to be treated as a woman, period.
Love it.
Preach! And I'm backing you up there, girl, tomorrow. Jonathan says, and just because the majority doesn't agree with you doesn't mean the majority is right and you are wrong. 1,000 people can think what they want. All that matters is what you feel and think. They are wrong and you are right.
Absolutely.
And Devin says, I connect with my inner being by writing down 40 positive I am statements about me.
Perfect
That's
practice.
Beautiful. And that's a great exercise for all of you. There's
perfect
your homework.
Practice. Perfect practice.
Should you choose.
Yes.
To connect to your inner self better.
So I'll be honest, there was a time.
Stop being lazy.
There was a time when I was heavily dependent on other people's opinions of to define who and what I was. And during those times, and I would assume that many trans attracted men were this way too in the early years. Many times, because of that, I was ashamed of who I was. And so I would lurk in, not dark alleys, but dark bars and gay clubs and do it secretively, go out late at night. Yep. Sneak out when I could. And, I would like park.
Being shady, hanging in the shade.
I'd park miles away and walk to the place rather than park real close just in case people saw my car or whatnot. And I'd go on to Craigslist and I would solicit for hookups on Craigslist in hopes that I wouldn't have to leave my house so that people wouldn't see me. And then when that person showed up at the door, I'd usher them in real quick and make sure that no one saw me. And it would always be late at night so that at least my neighbors would be asleep. And so...
And this probably sounds familiar to a lot of girls just as much as it sounds familiar to some of you guys, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so,
I'm sure he was a creeper.
Well, yeah.
Don't act like you didn't, too.
Exactly, Troy. And so it's... But now, there has come a time, and I can't say exactly when it was, when I gave all that stuff up, and it just wasn't worth it. For one, it was exhausting.
Right.
It was not only physically exhausting, but it was emotionally exhausting and spiritually exhausting. And there was this one day when I saw this trans woman in a gay bar, and she was so beautiful, and I didn't have the courage to go up and talk to her, but it was that person that convinced me that there was no shame in doing what I was doing. And that's why I decided to own my Transamorous and come out. And right about then is when I did that first video that's it's actually on the Transamorous Network's YouTube channel now. Mm-hmm. But it's a long time coming, and no one should shame you in the time that it's taking you, trans-attracted and transamorous men, to come out of the closet. But what you might want to consider is that the longer you're in the closet, the more challenges you're laying on your path. I was going to say the more harm, but it's really the more challenges you're laying on your path.
I want to interject with Tamara and Troy and point out what they've just said, too. Tamara says, we've all been there, Perry. Then we grow up. It's part of life. Mm-hmm. There's no shame in it.
Amen.
Troy says, you kept looking over your shoulder and peek around corners. We all did it.
Yep.
Jonathan says, it's all part of our evolution. And I back up all of them. We've all been there. We've all done it. We've all played our part in our own story. And we've all played the part into this continual circle, right? Look, if we've all been there at some point or are there still in the story, we're perpetuating the same problems. Let's pull away a little bit and reevaluate. Get your story right. Redefine yourself first. And what it is that you need, what you want, who you are, who you're looking for.
So this is Remy is pointing to some gold here. If you recognize that it takes two to tango, that the trans-attracted men and the trans women who come together, no matter what the circumstances, their stories are always matching.
Right.
If that's the case, then perhaps your opinion, trans women, of trans-attracted men, people you call chasers and trade and all that, and your opinion, trans-attracted men, who call trans women gold diggers and whatever else you call them, you're doing yourself a disservice by criticizing the other, because the other is playing into your story. Their story is matching your story. And so the only one that you can really, if you want to put responsibility on someone, the only one you can put responsibility on is yourself, because your story is drawing to you the type of men, trans women, that you're meeting. And the same goes for the trans-attracted men. Your story, your beliefs, are drawing to you the trans women who match your belief.
Right.
So, and it doesn't matter if you're conscious of the fact that you have a belief that's drawing women that you don't want. So if you're saying that all trans women are gold diggers, and you're not conscious of the fact that you're saying it, or you're saying it under your breath or in your head, or you're just saying it to men who share your story, you're just perpetuating opportunities to meet more of those kind of trans women. Meanwhile, there are trans women like Devin and Tamar and others that we know who aren't that way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There are plenty of trans women on the planet to have a healthy number of gold diggers and a healthy number of non-gold diggers and a healthy number of hundreds of thousands of trans women you would love to date that you could have a relationship with. But if your stories only align with the gold diggers, those other trans women are off limits to you.
They're invisible to you.
They're invisible.
It's not that they're off limits. They're invisible to you until you make it possible. Until you put it in your own sight. You put it within your own vision that it's a possibility. That it's not even a possibility, it's a probability.
It's a probability. That's exactly right. And the more you tell the positive stories, the higher the probability gets. Until one day you're walking down the street, or you're in a bar, or you're at 7-Eleven or something, and you bump into this person, and the conversation just happens naturally, and next thing you know it, you're in a relationship with a trans woman long ago you thought never existed.
Right.
Let's take some comments.
Nia says, God knows I've been that girl. Okay?
Thank you, Nia, for acknowledging that.
I thank all of you for being honest and acknowledging that this is not something to be ashamed of. We've all done it. We're all grown-ups, and we've all this has been part of our story and experience.
That's right.
Jonathan says, the only shame many of us men face came from us, those yourself. Devin says, gotta jump out of the whirlpool before it swallows you, but at your own pace.
Yep.
Troy says, Jonathan is right. I was afraid of being afraid. Gingy says, opinion is often due to upbringing. It wasn't until later as an adult that I realized that prejudices I had were really based on the opinions of adults in my childhood.
Oh, good. Wow,
those
profound.
Are the stories that are so deep that you don't even realize
you don't know you have them.
That it is a story.
Absolutely.
And that that's a story that was created or founded or given to you by somebody else.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
We all have them.
Yeah.
We all have those stories that are part of our upbringing. They are our parents and grandparents and whoever raised us opinions that have become our opinions. Is that your opinion, or are you just regurgitating someone else's opinion?
Well said. Well said. What else is happening in the comments?
I'm positive Jonathan ignores me when he's in Portland. You too.
Why is that?
Oh, because the boys haven't been able to have a play date in a while. So right, tomorrow, exactly.
Yeah.
LOL. Laugh, laugh, laugh.
So it's interesting. We're getting pretty deep in this, but it's very, very important, trans attracted men, if you're still in the closet, that you examine the beliefs that you have, the stories that you're making up about the women that you say you're wanting to be with, and the same thing with the trans women. And we assure you, because we've seen the evidence in our own lives, that when you begin to tell those positive stories consistently, and they don't even have to be about trans women, you will find
they could be about. The mess is just so much bigger.
Yes, you will find that not just your dating life, but your entire life transforms. Your entire life transforms, and over time, you will find yourself living a life you never thought you could. Or you only
life you always want, right? It's the life you always dreamed of.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And dreams can come true.
They do come true eventually, and like I've said before, every dream comes true in the end. And for some people, it's after you die, your dreams come true, because you end up in this state of bliss where everything you want is delivered unto you. But the people who do this work end up living their dreams ongoingly throughout the rest of their lives. And so happily ever after is not just a fairy tale; it can be your life simply by changing your stories.
There's a lot of great women here, Jonathan. Or Troy, I'm just saying.
Oh, here in Portland? Is Jonathan? Is he thinking about coming to Portland?
He said, I'm going to find me a Portland woman like Jonathan.
Troy, you really should consider coming here. I think you could potentially have a really good time being here in Portland. So Nia says, I met my husband while I was
I remember
camping with friends. That's right. He was my friend before we became lovers, and he has always been proud of me. There are good men out there like there are good trans people out there. Abso-freaking-lutely. And then it looks like that's it. Yeah. So I think we've come to a natural conclusion. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's been a really wonderful conversation, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with us.
Yeah, next week we're going to be talking about the fact that men, you got to remember you live in a state of grace, and that goes for trans women too. But we're going to be talking about what the state of grace, is next week on the Transamorous Network, and we'll have some more good news to share, and we'll talk more about how to read the news if you're going to go out there and read it. Until then, please come back. Support our show, not with financially, but just like come and watch what we're doing. You can give us money if you want to.
That'd be great too.
The money will show up when the money shows up, and we're not desperate about it.
No, but we're just saying. If that's how it starts, that's how it starts.
Yeah. And you're welcome for live streaming. We'll continue to live stream. And Nia, we promise we'll get your show up this year sometime.
Hi, Mama. Kisses, besos.
Bye, everybody.
Ciao.